Hello, Internet, and welcome to this week's edition of 1 Minute Answers from 1 Minute Economics, an edition dedicated to Russia. But before getting started with the two questions I have lined up for today, I want to do the following. One, let you know that the launch of my book is getting very, very close, so if you can, please give me just 5 seconds of your time by heading over to 1minuteeconomics.com, typing in your email address, and clicking submit. I promise I won't spam you. I simply consider my email list as a community, a small community of people who care about the channel and want to see it succeed. So basically, by being a subscriber to my newsletter, you're a friend of the channel. Also, I'm going to organize a contest to celebrate the launch, so if you can contribute with a prize, whatever it may be, shoot me an email at 1minuteeconomics@gmail.com to let me know what you have in mind. Two, I want to, of course, pick the topic for next week, and the topic for next week is going to be the field of economics, or in other words, feel free to ask me anything at all about the way in which economics is currently being taught at the university level, at the high school level, or whatever, or of course, if you want to know what my opinion is about certain economists or anything of that nature, simply write a comment below, and I will do my best to answer next week. The first question for today has been asked by just a human, and he wants to know if the USSR was just as powerful economically as it was militarily. Now, I guess it all depends on your frame of reference, in that compared to a bunch of countries, the USSR was ridiculously powerful from an economic perspective as well. But if we are to compare the two main protagonists of the Cold War, so the USSR on the one hand and the United States on the other, then the USSR tends to always be a few steps behind. And I have an animation about the Cold War that I want to invite you guys to check out, with the bottom line being that even at its height in 1969, the economy of the USSR was represented a smaller percentage of the world's economy compared to the United States. In 1969, I believe it was 14.31% for the USSR, whereas, at its height, the economy of the United States represented almost 29% of the world's economy. Let's not even talk about the fact that as of a certain point, the economy of the USSR started going down, down, and down some more, with it only representing 3.58% of the world's economy in 1991, which was the year of its dissolution. So it's hard for me to think of any scenario in which the USSR could win against the United States in a comparison that has to do with economics. Now, in certain contexts, of course, they spent more as a percentage of their GDP on their military than the United States, because of course there were a lot of programs and systems in place related to, for example, people's quality of life in the United States, stuff that in the USSR they weren't exactly keen on spending money on. So for this reason, of course, one might argue that as a percentage of its GDP, the USSR frequently spent more than the United States in quite a few cases, but yeah. Economically speaking, it's definitely an unfair comparison. The US wins hands down, and of course, as mighty as the USSR was economically as well compared to certain countries, it can just not win against the US. It just can't. Question number 2 is a natural follow-up to question 1, in that I'm asked if I believe Russia could become an economic superpower. Now, I say this on the channel a lot, that few things are impossible in the world of economics, but when it comes to this specific question, I, for one, doubt that Russia could become an economic superpower, at least in the near future. And I say this as an economist, but also as someone who lives in Romania, which is a country in which a lot of the bad habits that Russia is quote-unquote popular for are present. And I'm talking about the fact that, of course, in 1991, when the USSR disappeared, Russia had this chance of embarking on a sustainable path. But instead, it did the exact opposite and turned into what's commonly referred to as an oligarchy, in that the country's destiny is controlled by a select few. People who have become ridiculously wealthy, people who own football teams, as we call them in Europe, or you guys in the US would call them soccer teams, people who are remarkably influential, remarkably wealthy, remarkably well connected, but their prosperity comes at the expense of everyone else. And that for this system to function and, for the status quo to remain intact, there's a price that needs to be paid, and that price is the fact that Russia, despite being a country that has quite a few resources, that has quite a few things going for it, a huge country, a proud country, however you want to call it, it's still a country that can be brought to its knees by corruption, by nepotism, by, again, a lot of bad economic habits. So do I think it's possible that Russia can get out of this mess and become an economic superpower? Yes, it's possible, but it's not likely. And it's not likely because, one, the previously mentioned habits are incredibly toxic. And again, I'm saying this perhaps even more so as a Romanian than as an economist. And number two, it seems that Putin, unfortunately, has a firm grip on things over there, and it's unlikely that we're going to see meaningful change anytime soon. So, yeah. That's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot for your attention, and remember, 1, the topic for next week is the field of economics. So if you want to ask me something about the way in which economics is being taught, or about my opinions with respect to certain economists, feel free to ask away by writing a comment below, and I will do my best to answer. Number 2, remember that the launch of my book is getting very, very close, so please, for now, give me just 5 seconds of your time by heading over to 1minuteeconomics.com, writing your email address in the rectangle you can see on that page, and clicking submit. That's all you have to do, and you'll be on my email list that I consider a tight-knit community of friends of this channel. Also, I'm going to be organizing a contest to promote the launch of my book, so if you want to contribute with a prize or know someone who would be interested, shoot me an email at 1minuteeconomics@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to work something out. As always, please like my videos, comment, and subscribe to 1 Minute Economics if you haven't by now. And those of you who want to support the channel financially as well should save their ammunition for now and wait until the big launch week. Thanks a lot, guys, and have an awesome weekend.